fighting out of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, Damien Brown.
What's up, folks? Welcome to the Wireless Podcast. I'm your host, Damien Brown, UFC and Army veteran. I created the Wireless Podcast to cover all things sport, lifestyle, physical and mental health. It's not about me, it's about the listeners. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Beatdown155 or subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Wireless Podcast, and hopefully we can produce some wicked content for you in the near future.
What's up, folks? We're here today for episode number 1 with the educator, Aaron Blackie. What's up, my man?
What's going on, man? Excited to be here.
Yeah, first episode.
Good.
New setup. It's pretty cool. So we can produce for the listeners and maybe pass on some education.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But yeah. So let's just start off with how you got into martial arts.
Yep. Yeah. So my dad was amateur boxer, did judo and karate as a kid, so I sort of grew up mucking around and that sort of stuff at home. And obviously just playing around with him and that, eventually got started in judo. So started doing judo and loved it. The rules were very different to what they are now. And always, with combat at heart, always wanted to, test myself in combat and attracted to it and all, even little ninja movies and stuff when you're little, all that kind of thing, just drawn to it naturally. So yeah, stuck with the judo and competed with that and loved MMA when I, used to see like the old prides and that kind of thing. I think were the first, ones that I saw. And yeah, over time, moved more and more towards jiu-jitsu and MMA and less judo as I started to realize that the rule set and that sort of makes it not the most practical thing for fighting.
So on the rule set for
Yep.
judo, which is very different to a lot of martial arts competitions,
Yep.
there's no ranking as far as competitions goes. Hey, like when you go into competition, it's weight class.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you compete, right?
Yep, that's something that does my head in with jiu-jitsu because, you're wired the same. You want to be the best. You don't want to be the best blue belt. You want to be the best. Full stop.
Man.
And
there's, when you're a blue belt or like in the judo ranks, when you beat a black belt, you're like, man, that was the best competition of my life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, and that's the point because it's like, well, who's the best? So you go on a comp and it's all open. Now they do have they do these coloured things, but there's no respect given to it. You're not running seminars because you're the purple belt world champion and whatever. Like it is what it is. I guess much more people do jiu-jitsu. Judo is very global, but in terms of numbers.
Well, like wrestling's the same, right? You just it's a weight class thing. So
Yeah.
you go in, you compete, you lose, like by the time you get a little bit older, like you're winning.
Yep.
You're competing with those guys, but you might have lost to them a few years ago because they're a few ranks higher than you.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like the ultimate test without breaking it down too much, like not watering it down.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Because you're always testing yourself against someone who's better.
Yep.
And in the training room, like we're always trying to, well, not necessarily these days, but back in the day, you always want to train with the purple belt, the brown belt, the black belt. You know what I mean? Like people want to do that.
Yep.
So why not go into a competition where you get to do that?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
The transition from judo as a sport into mixed martial arts, like combat sport. Obviously the strikes and that. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, well, I think judo, what it offers is a great philosophy. There's a warrior culture, and I do think still to this day, I think judo training is much, much harder than mixed martial arts training because they overtrain like anything. It's the culture. But it is, and like nobody, like people, you get hurt, you're on the mat, the same session. Like people won't even sit off during a session. It's a very sort of proud warrior culture, and that's a really cool thing. I think that helps a lot, and you see it all the time. You see people like Ronda Rousey, they're tough as anything. That those chicks in competition in judo, people won't usually tap to arm bars and things like that on the international level. Not that that's necessarily a smart thing to do, but they're just ingrained, indoctrinated that way. It used to have all the leg grabs, so it used to have a lot of wrestling techniques and that when I did, and that's when I loved it, and that was a big part of why I sort of had enough of it with the constant increase in rules and lack of freedom in how you go about taking someone down. I think it should be open, and in my opinion, it is for combat. And if the best way to take someone down is to grab their legs with your body type and in relation to theirs, then I see no problem at all why you shouldn't be able to do it. And a lot of those Eastern European countries were dominating in the World Championships and that towards the end there. When they took it out, we saw a very sudden shift back to Japanese domination.
So what was the reason for them to taking out the lower body part?
Do you remember when wrestling got taken out from the Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it was a big thing between judo and wrestling. So they did it to separate themselves from wrestling and say we're a big, dynamic, exciting sport. And to have more throws, obviously, you need to take away the wrestling, and that way you can force the throws, to occur a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. Make them two different sports.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But I mean, it's a combat art. It's not a sport.
Judo at that level is pretty awesome, but like when you watch the highlights of the Olympics.
It's a highlight sport.
Because of the scoring, right, is the bigger the throw, the better.
Yep.
And that's and also how you obviously finish your match.
Yep.
So, the bigger the throw, the more exciting it is for the fans as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's got all the submissions in that end as well as jiu-jitsu. It's just obviously the rule set favors the throw because, like you said, you win with the throw. Yeah. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, you get your 2 points or whatever. And, I think taking someone's back's worth more than that.
Yeah. I remember a jiu-jitsu comp that had a lot of judo in it once.
Yeah. Few of them.
Let's not forget jiu-jitsu comps are not judo. I think I heard that too at one stage from the crowd. But, so and then how for you has your judo helped in MMA? Like not just from the mindset, but like technique wise, like physically.
Yep. Look, I think there's a couple of things. I was very lucky that our coach Dan Higgins is probably the best at using judo without a gi of anyone I've ever seen. And that was because he'd done judo as a kid as well before transitioning to MMA, and he's obviously very good everywhere. So he was able to make a lot of the adaptations that he taught me from early on. Most people, I think, give it up very quickly because the gripping mechanisms, that's the main problem. So without the gi, very hard to pull, much easier to push, which wrestling style takedowns predominantly are pushing movements, comparatively with judo, which are pulling. There are both in both, and they can also be used very well to counter each other, which is why having an understanding like Dan, it makes it very effective because someone tries to double leg you can then use that momentum to throw them. But it does, because of that, it's much easier to use techniques like single legs, double legs, body locks without the gi. So I think most judo people jump in, do some no-gi, and they throw someone off a headlock, and then immediately their back's taken and they're choked out. And they very quickly go, it's much more effective if I just do this single leg thing where I finish on top and I'm not getting choked.
Which helps for you, right? Because predominantly your favourite techniques in judo were lower body ones?
Yes, I liked the leg grabs. I liked firemen's and pickups and ankle picks and those types of things.
So the transition to doing more, I guess, wrestling-based stuff.
Yes.
Which is higher percentage in MMA.
Yes.
Was far better for you.
Yep. Stylistically, I was more vested in the techniques that did carry across, as well as I always liked Newaza, which is the judo groundwork. So I spent a lot more time doing, your arm bars, triangles, omoplatas, those kind of things in my training anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, still very, what I use from judo, I think having a good sense of balance and the ability to train for long times and repeat things, and there's that great training culture of there's no secrets, it's about doing the work and that kind of thing. I think definitely helps more than
hard work wins all the time. Hard work wins. So you've had some decent periods of time off.
Yep.
In your martial arts career in general.
Yep.
What do you say to young athletes who are, not that you're old, but, young athletes who maybe experience long periods of time, like right now, the middle of a pandemic, right?
Yep.
There's athletes, I can talk about myself as well, that have never experienced having time off in the gym. Do you know what I mean? Both you and I have had significant injuries over time that have kept us out of the gym or just off the mats in general for months or years.
Yep.
And so what's your probably, just good sound advice for young athletes experiencing that for the first time? Not because of injury, but because there's not a single gym open and everyone's locked in their house.
Yep. Yeah, great question. I think there's multiple angles you have to look at it. Obviously, from a psychological, mental health point of view, what I certainly didn't know when I was younger, and a lot of people aren't aware of, is the, you know, the hormones and that you get from training are very good for you and positive and make you feel good, and the endorphins and that kind of thing, which can leave you in a bit of a hole when you stop training immediately. So you might feel depressed or low, but that's not because there's anything wrong. It's just your hormones are a bit out of whack there, and you know, not getting the endorphins that they're used to getting. So I think realizing that helps a lot, and then realizing that, okay, if I can work out in some other way, I'm still going to get those positive endorphins and that. So if I can go for runs or whatever it is, you know, that you can find, get your heart rate up and do some hard work, should help with the mental side of it. Yeah. The technique side, I think if you've trained long enough, it's going to stay there for a long time. You don't need to worry about, you know, 3 months or whatever. In fact, because of the prevalence of overtraining in most professional fighters, if anything, you'll come back better having a forced 3 month break.
Yeah, I agree. Like actually, I remember I lost my 4th fight in a row.
Yep.
I was winning the 4th fight, so I lost 3 fights in a row in Europe.
Yep.
And the Middle East, and then I came back to Australia. I thought, oh man, I'm invincible. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just take a fight and win.
Yep.
That'd be sweet. And then I just remember halfway through the fight, it was like something happened. Do you know what I mean? Like I was so desperate to win that I forgot to fight.
Yep.
I just went for the win.
Yeah. Okay.
And it cost me, but I know that afterwards, our coach, he was like, man, I need you to take 6 months off.
Yep.
You know, and it wasn't off the gym. It was like, you need to take 6 months without thinking about competition.
Yep.
And that just changed the mindset wise. That break is always a good thing. And I think that young athletes forget that.
Yep.
You know, especially if they got, you know, aspirations to be, you know, massive. Like everyone wants to be the next Conor McGregor, right?
Yep.
But, you know, that didn't happen overnight for him. It's not going to happen overnight for everyone else.
Yep.
So I think it's important to remember that during a time like now, it's a good time to reset the mind, reset the body, and you're right. You still need to stay physical and train.
Yep.
So you get some of those feelings, you know, those hormonal kind of responses.
Yep.
But definitely keen to get back to it, right?
Yeah, of course.
So in the time that we've had off, and I know for some time before that you were working on some stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I got this project. It's called Fight IQ, and essentially it's taking an educational approach to giving fighters different resources that they can't really get from their gym, or access to experts in all the other fields that constitute what a complete fighter is. So obviously everyone's got their gym and their instructors, and you know, plenty of high-level people out there that can show them, you know, individual techniques and that kind of thing. But what everyone doesn't have access to is, you know, expert nutrition and expert strength conditioning coaches and psychologists and those kind of things. So we're trying to create a platform where we can link people up with them, and not just on a sort of pay-to-play basis where you just get a program and then, you know, 6 weeks down the track you need a new program, but more taking, you know, as my degree is in education and health, an approach where we actually teach them the fundamental concepts and that they need around those areas, and can then implement those themselves. So there's a level of, you know, self-reliance. So it's not just, here's your program, it's, okay, here's how you structure a program and here's the underlying concepts. And by no means is it, you know, replacing being able to work with an expert coach, but thanks to these online platforms, we can get the best nutritionist, you know, in the planet, people with PhDs, people with master's degrees, and you can pick their mind and see how they'd go about, you know, putting it together and that kind of thing. So I think it's very valuable. It's also, you know, time restrictions. A lot of people, because of their job and that, they can't get to the gym 5 nights a week like they'd like to. They might have to look after the kids and all those normal things. I think there's so much you can do around that, which kind of ties in with your earlier question of what to do. You know, like if your body composition's not optimal, then your cardio is not optimal. You're carrying around excess body fat, whatever it is. Just improving that through dietary changes is going to improve your cardio. So great thing to do when you're not on the mats. Your strength stuff, a lot of people don't know what to do though. So if they can go, okay, yeah, I understand why I need to do compound lifting and these are the basic lifts, and then I can go away and do that. And, you know, it is the basics to get you the furthest. It's Pareto's, you know, 20% of workers do 80% of the work, and that distributionary law is found across all fields. So very important. I think to address those other aspects of your training, and you'll find some massive gains there, as opposed to just going, can't get into the gym tonight, shit, gonna watch TV instead. Lots you can do.
Yeah. And so are you guys? Is that still a work in progress, or you guys got somewhere where people can follow it or look it up, or?
Yeah, no, it's still a work in progress. So we've got a few of the courses finished, and we're looking at we want to launch it as a complete product. So it'll be up. But yeah, Fight IQ, look out for it, and yeah, we'll be advertising and have that all up, as well as trying to get lots of different people in there for little technique courses and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll post some stuff up when that gets launched as well.
Thanks, bro.
So I watched something on the weekend in the UFC. Did you watch the UFC, or were you too busy surfing?
No, I was too busy surfing.
Yeah, I've seen his Instagram stories. He was surfing all day.
It's tough.
So there's nothing like being isolated on the water, eh? So anyway, I watched Bryce Mitchell, Charles Rosa.
I heard about it.
Oh, man, it was sick. It was so awesome.
Yep.
But something, being training partners, obviously, something really, like that fight just really reminded me of yourself.
Okay.
Now, when I was watching the fight, I know because when we grapple all the time, it's like head arm, back take, mount, head arm. Like, it's an absolute nightmare. And that's exactly what Charles Rosa dealt with Bryce Mitchell.
Yep.
Like, he was literally hanging onto that head arm and going to mount and going back to the head arm, going to mount, and then he'd take his back. With a few twisters in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I heard.
But it was just interesting that it seemed like he had a system.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? He had, and we've talked about this before, where like whether it's a guard pass and having, you got to understand what they're going to do, and then having an answer for that. That's the system, right? The system's how to get the quickest way from, whether it's standing guard or in guard, to taking the back and sinking in a choke or something. So, man, I just remember watching that fight, and I was just thinking about you, and I just wanted to ask about the approach that you take to jiu-jitsu. Because, like, we trained together for a long time, and over time, it's gone from just training jiu-jitsu to developing your own, like, way of training. So you've got, like, a concept and a way that you think about systematically approaching jiu-jitsu. And what's most impressive is that we've seen it in your fights. When you get hold of someone, you take them down, however it is, whether it's trip, throw, single leg, double leg, whatever it is, then you systematically move your way towards your submission. It's not just going for a sub. So how do you approach that as far as your training goes?
So systems is like the popular thing right now. And I've got, two minds with that. A is like, they're great because they give you general pathways. So they give you a way to get to where you want to get, to stack the deck in your favor. So by stacking the deck, I'm talking about using gravity, using angles, and using mechanical positioning in a way that gives you advantage in terms of your ability to produce force. So that's really the key. If I can produce more force than you, then I can do more damage to you, or I can apply a submission lock. So in boxing, the most basic one is you weave someone's punch. Your 10 to 2, your power where you can produce force and strikes is on them. Those is not on you. So that's what you want. Ideally, you want to get there and then you can hit them without them hitting you, which is the goal. So how that extrapolates to a fight, in my opinion, is you sort of start out in the open where you can both produce a lot of force. In the clinch, there's a bit of inhibition on each other's movement. On the wall, there's even more inhibition possible, but also a great structure to balance against defensively. That on the floor, again, you've got gravity in play now as well. So you want to create a general pathway that stacks that in your deck as much as possible, in my opinion. And in fighting, that is that old school blueprint of punching someone in the head, taking them down, and getting on top. That's that top position so prevalent. But what I think people are getting caught up in, and the Danaher kind of approach of this rigid system, is there's not it's impossible to calculate every movement. So you can say okay, when you're hitting your knee cut, guard pass, if he escapes this way, then go this way. But there's too many variables. It's like chaos theory. You can make predictions if you know all the information, but when people are fighting, your mood can affect what you're doing. So if you've had a bad day, you might be more aggressive. So now you're going to change the way that you're defending or attacking. You're going to be a different thing to compute, to work out. So the best analogy is how Kasparov was one of the greatest chess players. He used to verse the IBM computers. Eventually he lost. Now, computers now beat all chess masters. However, They don't even know how to calculate dexterous movement, hand movement. So a kid can pick up a chess piece, move it around. They can't make a robot do that at all. So the level that systems, play in reality of complex movement of two humans with timing and that is really, really overestimated. And especially with the human's brain's ability to make those calculations under stress, the time it takes to produce an optimal solution now makes it not the optimal solution because the fight's gone on. So it has to become intuitive, in my opinion. Well, that's when you see mastery. And, you know yourself, when you do something really good, it's always like, I just did it. I don't know why. Like every athlete I've ever spoken to has that feeling, best performance. And I think that's that Zen thing, mind of no mind. Now, that will never work if you haven't developed intuition around the different positions of the fight. So I think systems are great for showing a general pathway. So this is mechanically, an effective way to take someone down, because there are things like that. If I try and catch a ball by reaching behind my back and catching it the other side, that's never going to be as effective as coming underneath the ball and catching it. That's because the level of variability present, which is different types of resistance is smaller. So a general pathway can show you the area that maximizes force the most, and then you've got to spend as much time as you can following that, which is a loose system, and then as much time as you can around those different areas of the system where it's live. So it's always live, and it's got variability in there. That way, intuitively, your body's going to start recognizing patterns, and it's going to be able to infer the right move. And that's a process called Bayesian inference making, which is what they believe humans work off. So the more patterns that you can expose yourself to with real timing and real variability, the better you're going to be able to deal with those things intuitively. So again, can't be rigid. A really good point that's contemporary in movement development is task simplification versus task deconstruction. So this is referring to a lot of people take away. The biggest one is jiu-jitsu. You do jiu-jitsu when you're an MMA fighter and you don't have punching. Now, that changes it right away. So the variability that you're facing is different. Someone's not going to be worried about controlling your posture as much. Someone's not going to be worried about trying to stand up as much, those kind of things. So now you're spending that time developing your intuition around resistance that's not actually real.
Yeah.
So
it's a false sense of security.
Yeah. And it's even like what you're developing is wrong. Well, it's not wrong. It still is right for that goal. But when you put it back into the bigger picture, it doesn't work. So the idea is if you're teaching a basketball player to dribble a ball and he keeps stuffing it up in the game because there's defenders and there's pressure and he's panicking, what you do is you take him out and you just say dribble the ball. So you've just task simplified. Yeah. Now the problem here is that he's going to look at the ball when he's dribbling. Why wouldn't you? He's going to have a better outcome doing that now in isolation. Yeah. But then when you put him back in the game, that skill is no longer effective because he needs to be aware of where defenders are. Mm-hmm. So he needs to be able to dribble while looking around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but what my argument is, the usefulness of having systems or a general pathway is that if he could not do it at the start, he's never going to do it. So you're not getting anything. The learning curve's not even there. You take him out, do it, then put him back in as soon as you can into the real variability. I think that's optimal.
So like if you're a white belt,
the
system's perfect because you develop white belt, blue belt, maybe even purple, like you develop quicker.
They can't even play the game.
Period of time.
Yep. Yes.
Which we've seen. Right?
Yes,
which is what,
exactly.
Like Danaher's guys that have been training for like 6 to 12 months. And you're like, dude's insane.
Yes.
Yeah, he's athletic and he's got a background.
Yep.
But dudes develop so much quicker because they've got a system to develop with.
Yes.
Then they get a game. But then if you took that guy as a blue belt in like 18 months.
Yep.
And you put him in an MMA fight.
Yep.
He's going to get towed up.
Well, it's different variability.
It's different stimulus, right? So
exactly.
So at some point, he needs to take his system and he needs to start drilling with that same kind of resistance, with being punches in that case. Yep,
that's exactly what I think. I think those Danaher guys, it is great, and it's great to sell tutorials and that because you do get these general pathways. But I think two things. I think everyone sort of knows the general pathways. I mean, they did obviously revolutionize the leg locks, but they spend a crazy amount of time on the mat.
Yeah.
So they're intuitive grapplers. Like they're not going in with these crazy 10-page game plans and all that kind of thing.
Their systems aren't like, do this 5 nights a week. Like these guys are doing it for like 5 hours a day.
Exactly. Yeah. And anyone at that gym that's not doing that time to develop that intuitive feel isn't going to have the results. So you can buy the DVDs, you can watch the DVDs, and lots of people know. Like a great one is fight analysts, for want of a better word, that don't fight.
Yeah.
It's like they do have a great understanding of what's going on. But good luck to them getting in there and fighting. Like, you know what I mean? Those ones that don't fight because they can't do it, but they know what the right move is and they're right to a degree, but there's much more to it than just that right move. You've got to be able to see the bigger picture and you've got to have that feel. And it's, what is it? The whole is greater than the sum of the pieces. So you got to be able to put it together as a full system that has timing and isn't rigid. Flexibility, fluidity, be water.
Yeah, be water. So what's next for you?
Well, we still want to fight. Like
after the pandemic.
We all want to fight, but it could be interesting. Like I don't know. We haven't talked about this at all, but with the, obviously the gym and that social distance, like we'll be able to train in some regard, on a commercial basis with gyms and that. But I really. This whole 1.5 meter social distance, I can see the validity in maintaining it for a long time now that we're in $1 trillion debt, and if there's another outbreak, it might not happen. So, I don't know.
But like before they shut gyms down, right?
Yes.
They had 4 square meter rule.
Yes.
Right, before the 1.5 meters.
Yep.
So it was like exercise social distancing, like where you can.
Yep.
But inside a building or in one room, you have to have 4 square meters per person.
Yes.
So I think that like there's got to be a certain amount of normality that comes into it. Like people can't just not do jiu-jitsu forever because they've got to be 1.5 meters away. At some point they've got to go, okay, well, we haven't had a spike in cases.
Yes.
So, gyms are open.
Yep.
People are only doing pad work and bag work and
ground
and pound in a bag and doing get-ups and hip escapes and whatever else they're doing.
Yep.
But at some point, people have to go back to normality, like to a certain degree of it, which means if there hasn't been a spike in cases, they're going to have to go from 1.5 meters to 4 square meters again. Like it's like they're just going to have to go back in reverse.
Yes.
I don't think that's going to be too far away. I reckon like by the end of July, so we're probably like 2.5 months away from that. If there's no like huge spike.
Yes.
Saying that, this is a winter.
Hell of that.
Winter virus.
Works
right?
and
America's getting killed over there. But But yeah, so look, I think I reckon there'll be a fight show in September. Just saying. I reckon we're not that far away. I reckon September. We could be looking at a fight show. I don't think there'll be international travel for some time.
Yep.
Unless it's absolutely necessary, like probably work related stuff.
Yep.
But I reckon gyms, well, at the moment, they're scheduled to be open with distancing and a maximum of 20 people from June 12, pending COVID safe review, right?
Yep.
So I reckon we could be looking at least getting back to work to a degree in June, and then probably like mid-July, maybe we'll be looking at getting back to some kind of contact.
Yep. Yeah, I think it'd be more than reasonable just to cap total numbers in one class. Because I guess that like worst case scenario is you have a football game and you got 70,000 people in a stadium and then there's some crazy outbreak and they can't track it.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas if you limit, contact sports to 20 people or something along that, then you'd think if there was an outbreak, that'd still be a small enough number to track and get back underway, and they've upped, the capacity to deal with in hospitals and all that kind of thing.
But Did you watch any of the fights? Have you watched any of the fights back? Oh, you got to watch some of the fights. So no crowd. Oh, it was insane. Listening to some of those shots. Was almost like, and I had a few people message me, and people are more interested in the sound of, like, one guy, Ryan Spann, was talking to his corners. His corner's giving his directions and he's going, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I'm doing that. He's like literally answering his corners.
Yep.
So they can hear their corner. The corner's talking to them. They're talking back. They're like literally game planning on the go. You know what I mean? Like, it was insane. And then you listen to the shots and some of them are incredible. And it's like listening to a pad session in an empty gym.
Yeah.
It was, it adds like a little something different, but I mean, it's going to cost the promotion a lot of money, and local promotions rely on seats, not pay-per-views. It's I think it's only a matter of time before some kind of normality comes back, but that's pending people doing the right thing, as the government says. So hopefully you and I are both back on that stage soon. Look, man, I really appreciate you joining us today, sharing some knowledge. And I appreciate the judo talk and how that transitioned across to MMA. I know a lot of guys have got different backgrounds, including myself, in different martial arts before we did mixed martial arts, and I think it's not about everyone being the same, but it's about everyone being the best version of themselves.
Yep.
So where can do you want to give anyone a shout out, man? Or
obviously my coaches, Dan Higgins and Steve Compton, and all the boys that we train with. Cross Base Training Centre, which I'm proud to be part of, and Bros Jiu-Jitsu. All the boys and
sweet, man. And where can people find you on social media?
Instagram mainly. Instagram. I'm not a big fan.
He's an Insta model.
But Instagram. It's my thing.
So at Aaron Blackie, at Aaron _Blackie. What is it?
Aaron _Blackie.
Aaron _ Blackie. Maybe.
Johnny Black.
Yeah. He's tagged in most of my posts anyway because he's making me famous. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And, look out for more episodes coming soon. We've got some pretty exciting things in the works. And a massive shout out to you, man, for coming in. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bro.
No worries, man.
Ciao.